Alexa. Today we're making mini cherry pies. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared. I'm going to start by making my cherry pie filling. To do this, I'm going to combine my sugar and cornstarch in a saucepan and whisk them together. Then I'm going to turn my burner on to medium and add in my cherries and water. To combine my ingredients, I'm using a rubber spatula, but you can use a wooden spoon or a metal spoon if you'd prefer. I'm going to stir this constantly until it dissolves. Then I'll raise my temperature to medium-high, still stirring constantly until it comes to a boil. You can see the liquid has more than doubled and almost covered the cherries. Mine took about 7 minutes. Now that this has come to a boil, which took me another 7 minutes, I'm going to reduce the temperature to simmer on low. I'm going to stir it for another few minutes as it thickens before removing it from the burner. The cherry mixture will continue to thicken as it cools. Next, I'm going to get started on my pie crust. I'm using a store-bought pie crust today. Since I want to make mini pies, I'm using a glass as a cookie cutter so I can get even circles of pie dough. Pie dough needs to be chilled before it's cooked, otherwise it will melt when it's cooking instead of crisping up. So now that my pie crusts are cut out, I'm going to gently separate them from the rest of the crusts and put them on a tray lined with parchment paper. Then I will put them into the fridge so they can firm up a bit. You can also put them into muffin tins or just cupcake liners now if you have room in your fridge. I'm going to make a lattice to put on top of one of my pies. To do this, I'm going to first cut strips of pie crust. I'm going to put those onto some parchment paper to go in the fridge too. To help separate them from my surface without ripping them, I'm sliding a knife under them before picking them up. My pie crusts are now cold, so I'm going to put them into my cupcake liners. I'm using a cupcake tin and cupcake liners because this allows my pies to easily be removed from the pan, and you will only need to press down the cupcake liners after the pies are baked and they'll come out in one piece. I've only used parchment cake liners, so I'm not sure how the crust will release from traditional paper ones. I'm going to press my pie crusts into the cupcake liners to create little bowls for my filling. Try to get them as centered as possible so your pie crusts will be even. Next, I'm going to fill them with my pie filling. To do this, I'm using a tablespoon measuring spoon. You can also use a tablespoon ice cream scoop if you'd prefer. I'm going to use a spoon to help remove my filling from the tablespoon and guide it into the pie crust. After I fill all my mini pies, I'm going to press the filling down into the crusts using my spoon. Try to make sure they're as evenly spread out in the bottom of the pie crust as possible. My lattice pie crust pieces are chilled, so I'm going to work on my lattice now. To do this, I'm going to create a grid using my pie crust, and then I'm going to weave them together. When you weave them, make sure that the pieces that are next to each other are over and under different strands. That way they will all stay together when you bake it. Next, I'm going to use the same cup I used to cut the pie crust circles to cut my lattice into the right size. To remove my lattice circle from the parchment paper, I'm using a thin metal spatula. I'm going to slide it under the lattice. Then I'm going to slide it onto one of my pies. I'm going to move it a little with my fingers to make sure it's evenly on top of my pie. Then I'm going to coat it with a little bit of egg, which will help it get golden brown on top. I'm also going to sprinkle a little granulated sugar on it. Next, I'm going to make another type of topper for my mini pie. I'm going to use a mini flower cookie cutter to cut little flowers to put on top of one of my pies. After I put the flowers onto my pie, I'm going to egg wash them also and sprinkle a little granulated sugar on them. Next, I'm going to put my pies into the oven. My oven's preheated to 420 degrees Fahrenheit. After 10 minutes, I'm going to put some tin foil on top of the decorated pie so the decorations don't burn. My pies took 15 minutes to cook. I'd recommend setting a timer for 10 minutes and then set another timer for a few more minutes if they aren't done yet. Since the filling is already cooked, the baking is mainly cooking the pie crust. Therefore, when the crust looks golden brown, the pie should be done. Put them on a cooling rack so they can cool. After they're cooled, you can remove the cupcake liners. And my mini cherry pies are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy!